Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Corona Survival Guide for Couples, where we offer recommendations and suggestions for you on how to not only survive, but also thrive as a couple during this difficult time. And this podcast is co-produced by New York Center for Emotionally Focused Therapy. And I'm Irina Wen, couples and individual psychotherapist and certified emotionally focused therapist and supervisor. A model that was developed to help people heal and build strong relationships with their loved ones and also themselves. And today, our guest is Liliana Doyon, a couples therapist and also a certified therapist and supervisor in emotionally focused therapy. Hi, Liliana.
Hi, Irina. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, thank you for being here. I'm very excited actually for us to speak today on a very important topic on how to support couples through difficult and maybe intense emotional experiences with each other and conflict. Because right now we're in week, who knows what week is this, 6 or 7 of social isolation. So
Yeah.
we've all been at home quite a bit, and couples and families have been stuck with each other 24/7 for a long, long time with very little break. So while it can be a really nice bonding experience, things can also get triggered, escalated. I think people are fatigued a little bit from this experience, and that can bring in some difficult emotional experiences in the couples. So I wanted us to talk today and maybe give some pointers to folks out there how to navigate these hard moments. And you know what I'm noticing, I don't know if that's true in your practice as well, but I'm noticing that some couples right now actually kind of hit a place where they don't want to rock the boat. They're sort of in this functional mode, even though they may not be the most connected, or or maybe they are, but they just sort of try to preserve peace and keep pushing through, which we want to honor, right? And then there are some others who might really struggle because they may have gone into this isolating experience already with some friction in the relationship, and now this 24/7 together, and often in small places and spaces, can get quite quite triggering for already
Absolutely.
existing patterns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know if you have specific thoughts or ways how you've you found helpful for your couples, or maybe in your in your own life, what's the best way to manage frustration when it kind of gets heated up in a moment,
Right.
or maybe some negative emotions that come up.
Yeah, so some of the negative emotions that we see is the frustration, it's maybe some anger, some annoyance that comes up. And we know that emotions come with friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that, this is what we're presenting with, this is the behavior or the actions that we see, but underneath it, maybe there's some pain or there's some hurt, right? There's maybe disconnection from your partner.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that maybe you're trying to ask your partner and the message isn't being received properly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we know that once that starts to escalate, that's when the conflict occurs and the negative cycle gets
Mm-hmm.
triggered.
Mm-hmm.
So one tip that I'm thinking of right now is to just tune into that emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is my frustration coming from? What is this emotion trying to say? Right? So creating awareness around what am I actually needing right now? What can I ask for
Mm-hmm.
my partner? What is this emotion that's coming underneath the frustration?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So I'm hearing kind of you say that a lot of times, maybe below or together with anger and frustration, there may be some deeper and perhaps more vulnerable emotions that's hard for all of us to talk about, especially in the moments of frustration, right?
Yeah.
That can be hurt or disappointment, or maybe we're feeling shut out or alone.
Mm-hmm.
We usually don't turn to our partners with that. We usually, turn with criticism, or maybe we ourselves shut down.
Yes.
So I appreciate you sort of encouraging all of us to tune into what might be underneath that anger, frustration, or or the negative emotion or intense emotion that might be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, go ahead.
I guess just the second part to this, as you're saying this, is it's really important not to allow emotions to get to the part where we can't actually control them anymore. So one of the things that I'm offering to some of my couples is, other than just becoming aware of what might be triggering and getting that awareness around that frustration, annoyance, anger, maybe the feeling of overwhelmness, is to actually take some space. So I'm starting to feel this big emotion coming on, and I'm maybe going to call out, we need to take a time out, we need to create some space, and maybe in an hour or a few hours or tomorrow morning, we'll follow up to talk about what happened. Okay, so the
I
couples
like
that
that
have,
idea, yeah, especially because things can get escalated pretty bad in some couples, right? And that's the nature of human emotion in a way that they can run really high. I think the key piece here also, and I appreciate sort of this ask for space and ask for your needs in the moment. The key piece here is to come back, right? Because for some people in that moment of, I just need a time out, for their partner, it may land as, I don't want to talk to you, you're too much, here you go again, or something like that. So I guess the piece is that I just need the space because I feel overwhelmed right now. There's no productive conversation that can happen, and I will be back. We will get back to this because I know it has not been resolved, right? So this kind of looping back to them, to when we are feeling a little better and more grounded.
Yes. Because the couples that have the success in this are the couples that are able to go back to repair it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the repair is very important.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we're talking about that, I think it's true as couples therapists, we see this a lot and try to track it in our own relationships, right? Is that we all get stuck in these patterns of whether it's, you know, one partner might criticize and go, or become, you know, accusatory or something like that, or attack in some way, and the other partner might shut down and withdraw and just push back. Or there may be some other patterns where both shut down and withdraw. And so these patterns are usually pretty predictable, and couples have, you know, have repeat them quite often. So perhaps another thing that can be helpful is to just, when things are not intense, when you and your partner are not fighting, just to try to understand, where do we usually get stuck? What's actually happens in those moments? So we can recognize it, anticipate, like, what do you usually do when you get frustrated? What do I do? What actually happens for you? And have these conversations about the pattern where you all get stuck before it comes, right? So that can.
So that's important that you're saying that, Irina, because a lot of couples, when they're not in that escalated state or they're not in conflict, they actually try to avoid conversations around those fights because they don't want to trigger anything.
Absolutely.
So I think it's if maybe you give a disclosure to your partner and you say, look, I really want to bring up what happened last night, but I don't want to create any conflict between us. I just want us to understand what just happened. If you gave a disclaimer and prepped that partner, that way you both can talk about where it might have gone wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that idea as well.
And that use of I statements.
Yes, that's important as well. I appreciate you bringing it up, because that's one way, you know, oftentimes I hear this question about emotions, and people, you know, we all struggle sometimes, especially with when we need to communicate how we're, you know, something triggers us or we're unhappy about something, especially what our partner is doing. And, you know, we often talk about that I statements can be more helpful than the you statements, right? So for example, if we get irritated again and again that our partner leaves dirty dishes in the sink, we may say, you know, I can't believe you're doing this again. How many times I asked you and you're not listening, and obviously you don't care. And that's probably going to be met with defensive response and potentially conflict. And so the I statements would sound something like, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like it's the whole burden is on me. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm alone, and perhaps you are not listening when you leave the dirty dishes in the sink, right? So I start with me and how I'm feeling about the behavior that occurred.
Yes.
So anything else, any other ways to help people kind of get out in the more intense situations, or perhaps prevent them?
Yeah, I think another way right now that comes to mind is showing gratitude and appreciation for each other. So
Mm-hmm.
setting time either in the morning, midday, or at night to be able to reconnect and say and give your partner a positive message. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful that you take time out of your day to do the grocery shopping for the family.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful that you're thinking of me middle of the day and you're making lunch for me. So showing this appreciation and gratitude, I mean, when, there's the pandemic going on, really goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that, and that can actually set the foundation um, for kind of preventing this high intensity moments, and maybe more
Yes.
bonding, more compassion for each other.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing some of these thoughts. I think that's all of them are important, and right now we all can use as much support as we can. So thank you, Liliana. I
Thank you,
appreciate you being
Irina.
here.
Thank
All
you for
right.
having me.
Of course. Take care.